Astroworld Festival tragedy.
The U.S. Supreme Court has ended affirmative action in college admissions.
And a longtime broadcast journalist joins us to celebrate the 1973 Stroman High School class reunion.
We are headed toward the 4th of July weekend, and the good news is the blazing heat might be weakening a little bit. Still warm, but not as bad. We'll have all the details coming up in a moment.
Victoria Generals, that's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10.
This is breaking news from 25 News Now.
Breaking news tonight just before 8:40, we received word of shots fired in the area of Leary Lane in Victoria.
25 News Now reporter Adam Seibel is there at the scene and can tell us more. Adam.
That's right, Don and Karina. So around 8:40 p.m. this evening, VPD responded to a shots fired call. This is off Leary Lane. That's where we're at right now. So you can actually see behind me, they do have the police tape up. So we just spoke with Officer David Brogger with Victoria Police Department, and he says that a 19-year-old male was shot in the leg. Now he's in critical but stable condition. So he was taken to a local hospital. They do believe this to be an isolated incident. So again, that was one 19-year-old male that was shot in the leg. They said he's in critical but stable condition. So still very much an active crime scene. So right behind me, you can see this is actually in front of the Texas Lottery Claim Center. So there are still shell casings on the ground. There's still multiple VPD unit patrol cars on the scene, and they do have it blocked off. So if you live in this area, we've seen traffic being diverted because like you can see this police tape right here behind me. So that's all we know at this time. Right now, it's an isolated incident, and one 19-year-old male is in the hospital in critical but stable condition. And we'll have more updates on this as we receive them. Come to crossroadstoday.com. Reporting live in Victoria off Leary Lane, I'm Adam Seibel, 25 News Now.
Adam, thank you. A state district judge today ordered DPS to start releasing public records related to law enforcement's response to the Uvalde school shooting. The Texas Tribune reports news organizations sued DPS last year for the records, which concern the botched police response. The records will not be immediately available. Judge Daniela DeSeta-Lytle ordered DPS to produce by August 31st a proposed log of redactions it wants to make to the public records.
A couple in Beeville found dead in their home Wednesday. Authorities told the Beeville Picayune that they were investigating it as a homicide. KIII reports police identified the victims as 67-year-old Maria Vasquez and 80-year-old Jose Vasquez. Heat may have been a factor. Authorities estimate the temperature inside the home was at least 120 degrees.
A giant live oak tree fell on 3 City of Goliad service trucks and almost hit several city employees Thursday. The Goliad Advance Guard reports Goliad Public Works Director Earl Henning and some city employees were standing by the tree when it fell away from them and barely missed landing on top of the city warehouse building. Henning said he and an employee were talking about the tree's condition when it fell. Let's take a first look at your forecast now with First Orange Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac, looks like the temperatures are going down a little.
A little bit. Just like we promised you, they are coming down a little bit. Here's something interesting. Watch this. Heat advisory for tomorrow. Victoria County's not in it. Neither is Refugio. What's going on? Well, all that big bubble of hot air that was over us is now forecast to be over the Mississippi as soon as this weekend. So what that means is they're going to get the brutal heat, maybe not us. We'll talk about your weekend look and take a look at 4th of July coming up in a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority struck down affirmative action policies at Harvard College and the University of North Carolina.
The 6-3 ruling effectively ends race as a consideration in college admissions nationwide. Chief Justice John Roberts said the two schools' policies violated the 14th Amendment.
Tonight, a landmark Supreme Court ruling overturning more than 40 years of legal precedent. The 6-3 ruling split between conservatives and liberals, ending affirmative action in higher education as we know it.
Discrimination still exists in America. Today's decision does not change that.
President Joe Biden blasting the decision, instructing his education department to quickly help colleges and universities find new ways to build diverse student bodies without using race as a factor.
We cannot let this decision be the last word.
Chief Justice John Roberts writing the majority opinion, declaring the two schools in this case, Harvard and the University of North Carolina, violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Justice Clarence Thomas, who acknowledges benefiting from affirmative action himself, writing, "While I am painfully aware of the social and economic ravages which have befallen my race and all who suffer discrimination, I hold out enduring hope that this country will live up to its principles, that all men are created equal, are equal citizens, and must be treated equally under law." Justice Sonia Sotomayor firing back, saying this ruling rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress, writing, "Equal educational opportunity is a prerequisite to achieving racial equality in our nation."
It does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable knowing that in that admissions office, when they were deciding whether they were going to accept me, reject me, that they might have been considering my race, because I think that that's not something that I can control.
Roberts clarified that students could still include their experiences about race in admission essays, but that schools wouldn't be able to use those essays to circumvent the ruling.
My identity has to be my race, the struggles that I've gone through, the trauma I've gone through as an African-American woman in the United States. I would have to write about those traumas and those very hard experiences for admissions officers to accept the overwhelming truth that we all know, which is that it is hard to be a Black person in America, and I don't think that's fair.
UNC and Harvard both issuing statements saying they will comply with the court's decision. In Washington, M. Nguyen, ABC News.
The Texas Tribune reports the decision will largely impact the University of Texas at Austin, the only public university in the state that considered race in undergraduate admissions. And private universities also be affected, such as Rice and SMU. UT Austin admits 75% of its class through the top 10% plan. The Texas legislature created the plan that automatically admits Texas high school students who graduate in the top 10% of their class to the state's public universities.
And this brings us to your viewer poll tonight. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, do you think we still need affirmative action, yes or no? Well, according to these results tonight, 40 just changed right now. 40% say yes, and 59% now stand at no. They're switching right in front of us.
I love it when it changes when we're live on the air. It makes it very hot
Yeah, it's a hot
topic.
topic for sure. Well, thank you for voting tonight. Visit us tomorrow for our latest viewer poll.
As for other Americans, based on recent polling, many support the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action. Two polls from this month found 70% of Americans think the Supreme Court should rule that colleges cannot consider race in admissions. In another poll, about 50% of U.S. adults disapprove of selective colleges and universities taking race and ethnicity into account in order to increase diversity at the school. Now, in that same poll, 49% said consideration of race and ethnicity makes the overall admissions process less fair, with just 20% saying it makes it more fair.
Travis Scott has avoided criminal charges stemming from his Astroworld Festival. A grand jury was considering criminal charges against Scott for his involvement in the 2021 crowd crush at his festival. The jury ultimately decided to decline to indict the popular rapper despite the crowd crush killing 10 people, including a 9-year-old, and leaving thousands more hurt. Medical examiners said all victims died from compression asphyxia.
You know, what we want, just like laws that we like or dislike, is not the standard for being a prosecutor in Texas or in America. We're bound to the evidence. We apply the law to the evidence. We respect juries' verdicts, whether they're grand jury verdicts or trial jury verdicts. So I want peace for those families.
After the festival, Scott said in a video he could not have imagined the, quote, severity of the situation, unquote, at the festival in Houston.
The sister of civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has died. Christine King Ferris passed away this Thursday morning at 95. She was the eldest and last living sibling of MLK Jr., as well as a founding member of the King Center in Atlanta. The King Center said Ferris spent much of her life advocating for equality, just like her brother and other family members, but she was also a champion of literacy and education. A statement from the King Center says her life, quote, overflowed with acts of service, love, and education. In order to complete the construction of an oil export terminal in the Matagorda Bay, the Army Corps of Engineers would be required to dredge a deeper and wider 22-mile channel. Comments regarding public opinion on this dredging are due July 3rd and can be sent by email or mail on those addresses right there on your screen.
This weekend, the Stroman class of 1973 celebrating its 50th class reunion. And this week, we're introducing you to some of the graduates who went on to do great things. For example, Dan Cuellar was a senior class officer for the Stroman graduating class of 1973. He worked in radio and TV news for 48 years, working in Houston, San Antonio, and Philadelphia. And he was inducted into the Broadcast Television Hall of Fame. He says it's good to be home.
You know, it's with an incredible sense of pride that I'm back in my hometown of Victoria after starting in TV here so many years ago back in the 70s, and then coming back for this high school reunion, 50 years, and getting back with people I haven't seen in so many years. This is going to be so exciting. It's going to be so fun to be back in Victoria for this incredible event, and I'm looking forward to seeing my colleagues, Stroman High School Raiders, class of 1973. And I also want to pay special tribute to those faculty and students who, because of illness or because they passed already before us, will not be able to be with us. And I just want to say that they will always be a part of the 1973 Raider family, and we will never forget them.
The reunion festivities will kick off Friday at the Dutch Lane Pool and Pub at 1507 East Wan Lin. On Saturday, the celebration continues at Club Westerner at 1005 Constitution. Tickets for classmates are $50. Guests can join the fun for $20. For more information, reach out to Gerald Shellhab at pdv@glenroselaw.com or call 361-571-4678. The 2023 Miss Texas competition will air right here on KAVU TV Saturday night at 8 o'clock. The 86th annual Miss Texas competition is this weekend in Richardson. This year, 57 women vying for the title of Miss Texas. The winner gets a $20,000 scholarship and the chance to compete in the Miss America competition. Miss DeWitt County, Madison Matlock is a contestant. Also, Sydney Diaz is a People's Choice contestant as DeWitt County's teen. Best of luck to those ladies. Hey, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. That's how you can get Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, a suspicious package found on the steps of the Supreme Court this afternoon.
Also ahead, a federal judge denied former President Trump's motion to dismiss E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit. suspicious package was found on the steps of the Supreme Court this afternoon. The incident happened after the High Court's ruling ending affirmative action admissions programs at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina. Capitol Police announced several road closures around the building, forcing protesters and media members to move away from the area. No other details were released. Authorities did give the all clear later, allowing roads to reopen. A federal judge has rejected former President Donald Trump's effort to get E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit against him dismissed. Trump argued he was entitled to immunity because he was president when he made statements denying Carroll's rape allegation. However, the judge called the argument without merit. The case is set to go to trial early next year and is separate from the battery defamation lawsuit that Trump lost. In that lawsuit, a jury awarded Carroll $5 million in damages and found Trump sexually abused and defamed her.
Crews work to reopen a stretch of tracks north of Los Angeles today, one day after a partial train derailment. The Amtrak Coast Star light train crashed into a water tender truck Wednesday afternoon. 200 people were on board at the time of the crash. Of those, about 15 had minor injuries. The driver of the truck is in the hospital, listed as critical but stable. Crews say they hope to reopen the segment sometime today. The Biden administration is investing more than $3 billion to prevent and reduce homelessness across America. $58 million will go to helping veterans find and keep jobs through training, apprenticeships, and other support services. $11 million will go to legal services. The Department of Housing and Urban Development and Veteran Affairs launching boot camps to help rehouse veterans. The VA currently on track to rehouse 38,000 veterans in 2023. Crews battling a wildfire that has consumed more than 500 acres and threatened several North Texas homes going into today. The wildfires charred about 511 acres near Texas Highway 16 in the Possum Kingdom Lake area. That's about 90 miles west of Fort Worth. As of this morning, it was only 40% contained. As many as 25 homes threatened near the town of Strawn. No word on any injuries. No homes were lost or damaged. Cause of the fire remains unknown.
Well, we're looking at tomorrow's high temperatures. They're a little bit lower, maybe a degree or two, but that is a good trend, folks. The heat is about, I wouldn't say it's about to break, but it's not going to be as bad as it was. And we'll be talking about 4th of July coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned. Good evening, everyone. Of course, we've got some warm weather, and some of you right now are thinking, okay, we're leaving tomorrow morning. We're on our way for our long holiday weekend. Some of you are planning to stay in the backyard, which is okay as well. The good news is Texas is getting finally a break. Now, over the last 3 weeks, we've had a bubble of high pressure on top of us. Now, that didn't allow any rain. We got some clouds and humidity, but that was it. The rain is on the periphery of it where the pressures are lower. Like you can see them all the way around here. Well, as long as that bubble was on top of us, we weren't going anywhere. Now it is moving. And like I promised you, there's hope that we get back to a regularly scheduled summertime weather. There you can see the advisories for tomorrow, and they don't include Victoria County. How about that? What's happened is that the bubble's center is now moving eastward, and it should be over the Mississippi Valley even as soon as tomorrow. And certainly I hope they've been watching the news, because they're going to be under the brutal conditions we were in for 3 weeks. Hopefully they're ready for it, and I'm not so sure that they are, but it was something for us. Now there's a little bit of a break. Instead of being in the upper 90s, we're going to be down to the lower 90s as we get into next week. And all this is the continued smoke throughout much of the northeast United States. As far as the tropics is concerned, the Atlantic is fairly quiet right now. We actually got an ingestion of some dust from the Sahara. So we'll look at the Pacific, and we have 2 storms. This one is Adrian, but this one is Beatrice, and this is the problem. You see how it's developing right offshore from Acapulco. So they're going to be getting some strong onshore winds, probably tropical storm force, 75 miles an hour, and then the storm is going to be moving right along the coast. So all of these states, the Pacific states, Colima and those areas, are going to be looking at some stormy weather. And guess what? They're happy about it, because this is a break in the heat wave for them as well. In fact, by the time we get to the, let's see, this will be Saturday, so it'll be Sunday, this remnant storm is going to push out to sea, but it may skirt south of Cabo San Lucas, if you know that neighborhood of the world. All right, here's your day planner for those of you going to Port Lavaca for the weekend. You're getting up at 81, getting up to 91 at lunchtime, and 93. Sounds positively delightful, doesn't it? At least it's not 100. And then for those of you in Cuero, well, you're getting up at 77, 91 by lunchtime, but 96 is a high temperature with a nice little breeze blowing. Hey, things could be worse. So here's the forecast for the rest of us in the Crossroads. Yes, it'll be hot tomorrow, but 96, and the heat index is below 110. That's always appreciated. By Saturday, I think you're going to see clouds begin to build. By Sunday, I think you're going to have blue sky and some nice puffy clouds. And then by the time we get to Monday, we're going to see a few little afternoon pop-up showers. Now, that's the same thing for Tuesday, and you're thinking, oh, that's 4th of July. Well, I wouldn't worry about it. I'll tell you why. These develop in the late afternoon and then decrease once the sun goes down. So when everybody's going to be over there at Community Center getting ready for the fireworks, most of that rain activity should be over. And I'm excited, because as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, we still have a good chance of even more showers. So temperatures getting back down to the realistic range of the low 90s. That's your 7-day forecast. We've got a QR code we'd love for you to scan. And when you scan that, we can you put Crossroads Today on your cell phone. Here is Gino coming up with sports.
Thanks, Mac. A New York Yankees pitcher achieved a feat only 23 other pitchers in the history of the MLB have. That's coming up after the break. At Crossroads, the Victoria Generals are in second place in the Texas Collegiate League, and a pitcher on the team was on fire from the bump, totaling 10 strikeouts. But that's not all. Right-handed pitcher Jack Hagan took the mound Tuesday night against the Seguin River Monsters with the plan of only going 6 or 7 innings. Little did he know he was going to pitch the entire game. Generals head coach Michael Oro said the plan was not for him to go the distance, but knew he wanted to test the waters with how far Hagan could go, and that opportunity arose on Tuesday.
Jack Hagan threw a great game tonight. We talked about his last start, trying to get into that uncharted territory and that pitch count being in the 80s and 90s where he hasn't been before, and getting him used to that situation. And a week later it shows its face, and he succeeded.
The UT Arlington ball player came down to Victoria to try to work on his skills during his off time. With the season halfway in the books, the McKinney native plans on staying in the Crossroads for the rest of the season.
The field's great. You know, it's one of the nicest fields in our league here, and you know, having the guys around, these guys are awesome. You know, they're fun to hang around. Our bus rides are fun, even though they're long. But Victoria has been a great city for me, and I'm thankful that I get to come back for another month and see what we can do.
Although the 6'3", 200-pound junior had a great game, he knows he cannot do it alone. Having a good defense behind him like he has keeps his confidence high and his pitch count low.
You know, going out there tonight, you know, I was like, you know, I'm going to go 6-7 for my guys tonight, give our best, you know, give the best chance to win. And, you know, I went all 9. That's pretty good. I haven't done that in a long time, but I couldn't have done it without my catcher behind the plate. You know, when you're pitching on the mound and you know your defense is right behind you, not struggling, and they're making the plays, you know, it gives you confidence. You know, I can give up a ground ball, I can give up a fly ball, and they're going to make the plays.
After the game, the Generals improved to 13-10 on the season, in part to number 23. The first time General threw a shutout, only giving up 2 hits and 1 walk. The team totaled 12 insurance runs to coast to a 12-0 victory over Seguin. Hagan's contributions are the reasons why he is the Crossroads Athlete of the Week. Victoria Generals went on to win tonight against the Acadiana Canecutters 6-3. The two will play again tomorrow, this time at Riverside Stadium. Well, another pitcher had a fantastic outing, and this one taking place in the MLB. New York Yankees' Domingo Germán pitched his way into the record book last night, tossing Major League Baseball's first perfect game in nearly 11 years. It was the 24th perfect game in the MLB's history, and the first since Seattle Mariners pitcher Felix Hernandez threw one against the Tampa Bay Rays in August of 2012. The Dominican-born right-hander, who is the first pitcher from his nation to throw a perfect game, cited the death of a relative a few days ago as inspiration for his historic performance. Well, that's your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Tito. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a shortage of sriracha sauce is sending prices through the roof. of sriracha sauce are through the roof because of supply problems. On eBay, a 28-ounce bottle is selling for nearly $70.
What?
The manufacturer of the sauce says the company has had a shortage of the key ingredient, the spicy chili peppers, for the past 3 years. A spokesperson says they're trying to put measures in place to avoid future shortages. Until then, they have no idea when supplies will catch up with demand.
A senior care center in Michigan using virtual reality technology to help their residents do things otherwise impossible. The staff helps people put on the VR headset. This helps the residents complete their physical therapy. The technology helps them practice being in situations they experience in their daily lives, like cooking or shopping. The group running the senior care center is rolling out the technology to all 10 of their facilities in Michigan in the coming weeks. That is fantastic.
Good adaptation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need a virtual break from the heat. We need a real.
Oh, yeah. Virtual
moment.
is cute, but not as good as real.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
We've got a break coming, folks. Coming up right there. Now, the temperatures will still be warm, but it won't be as bad nor as oppressive as the heat index is coming down. We'll get clouds over the weekend, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we got a chance for a few afternoon showers. None of this will be severe, just hopefully enough to give us a little break in the heat. Finally, it's over.
Yeah. Thank you, Mac. And finally, Virgin Galactic launched its first ever commercial mission earlier today. Galactic 01 sent 4 passengers to suborbital space and back. After reaching a high point of 275,000 feet, passengers were able to unstrap and experience zero G. A few minutes later, the space plane returned safely to Spaceport America, somewhere in New Mexico, landing at 11:45 Eastern Time. British entrepreneur Richard Branson founded Virgin Galactic back in 2004.
Oh, wow.
By the way, the cost of a ticket on the Virgin Galactic flight?
Let me guess, $200,000.
$450,000.
Oh, man. I only get half a seat.
Yeah, now that is galactic.
That is incredible, though.
Out of this world.
That's right.
Alrighty, well, thank you to you both, and thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join Carolina Astorine, meteorologist Trey Mining. 25 News Now sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.